Successful people learn how to make their mind work for them. I'm David Nagel, and this is the Successful Mind Podcast. I am taking a little bit from working with the law this morning. This is in the chapter called The Law of Success. I'm going to bounce around a little bit here. He says, God does not give us the spirit of fear, but of courage and a sound mind. And this is one of those things that creates a lot of confusion for people. Fear is not a bad thing. Let's start off there. Fear can save your life. Fear can teach you a lot. But what we don't want is we don't want to be controlled by fear. We do not want fear to control us. We also don't want to make decisions based on fear any more than we would want to make decisions on, say, a lack of money. When we make decisions based on the idea of what we have or what we don't have versus coming from the desire itself, we begin to be controlled not only by situations or circumstances, but also stories, beliefs, values, ideas, judgments of other people. And when we're kids, much of the teaching that we get is constantly in the consideration of what we have or what we don't have, and what is responsible or not responsible, making decisions based on those ideas. So there is a bit of a judgment that goes back of that, if you really think about it, where often we feel that if we make a decision that appears to be in the mind of other people an irresponsible idea, we'll be judged for that. People will be judging us for that. So that literally creates a fear. It's an apprehension inside of each one of us about, do I make a decision based on what I want? Do I follow this desire? Or should I do the right thing in my mind? When we make the decision, it's like the universe opens and it's waiting for us. What is the decision? What are you going to stick to? What is your level of commitment around this decision? Because remember, the universe can't change anything. Whatever you decide, it receives, and it begins to move into form based on the level of your commitment to that idea. If we experience fear in any way, that's not God telling us not to do something, that's not Spirit telling us not to do something, it is a reaction based on a subconscious belief, whether it's real or whether it's imagined. Every time you have a fear, ask yourself, is this real or is this imagined? Where did it come from, right? We're only born with two fears, fear of falling, fear of loud noises. What is this fear that's inside of me? It's good to be aware of what it is. You know, there could be some validity to the thing. Look, if a tiger's jumping out of the forest to grab you, fear is a good thing. But when you are looking at what is the decision that I need to make based on this desire, and you're experiencing fear because there is a subset of unknown conditions and circumstances that are going to follow, Awareness around that is fine, but to allow it to control the decision, it's not. God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of courage and a sound mind. So the idea is that we use our courage, we use our faith to make the decision to be able to move forward. All right. Success is a matter of advancement by grade. No man can become a success except by training. An athlete will train for weeks and months to fit himself for a contest that may last for only a few minutes. The real secret consists in moving forward, and that peculiar mental attitude which promotes this constant progress is the ruling factor in the art of success. No person can succeed who is not imbued with the desire to advance. In fact, the first step is to become thoroughly saturated with the spirit of progress. No one feels stimulated with a persistent desire to work for better and greater things. The desire to advance implies the power to advance. So think about what he's saying. The desire to advance, where's the desire? It's in us. It implies that you already have the power. It's always speaking the truth of what you already have. The desire, let me see here. The desire to advance implies the power to advance. That is the law as absolute in its actions as any law of science. The fact that you desire to succeed is evidence that you have the power to succeed. Otherwise, you would not have been urged to aspire successward. You cannot aspire to succeed unless you have the power to succeed. Desire creates the power. Power inspires the mind of the individual, and success is the result of that inspiration, rightly applied. Investigating the lives of successful men, we find a very striking fact. We find a common quality that is responsible for their success, which consists of a constructive state of mind. Psychologists term this constructive state of mind as a successful attitude. Simple as it may seem, in most every case, the difference which decides success or failure is the ruling mental attitude. You have complete control over that. The ruling mental attitude, you have complete control over it. This is the thing that I did not know when I changed. Well, I remember when I first read this because it was exactly the thing that I changed. It was my attitude. I changed my attitude. I picked and focused on 3 specific things to change. I could not change, and you cannot change, the situation or the circumstance that you're in. The only thing that you can change is you. Much of what I had been thinking when I was on the forklift was, how do I change my circumstance? How do I get out of this damn thing? We can't change the circumstance. The circumstance is the effect of the attitude that we hold, the attitude that we carry, the attitude that we commit to. It is not the size of the goal that makes the difference, but the commitment to doing the work that delivers the win. So I'm throwing that in there because, we're taught to, pick a big goal. Why? Because the big goal is inspirational. Pick something that's inspirational. Pick something that motivates you. Well, part of I shouldn't say mistake, but it's kind of like a little bit of a delusion, is that there is a power on the outside of the thing. Like that goal has some kind of a power that you're trying to get. And the mistake that we make is that the power is on the inside of us. We always have to remember that power is on the inside of us. Success or failure is the ruling mental attitude. It is at fault and is the cause of failure. The discovery of this remarkable fact by modern psychology probes to the very root of some deep practical problems and indicates a way of adversity and failure. In short, the positive mental attitude of the man who thinks he can, in contrast with the negative attitude of another who thinks he can't, is practically the only difference between the one who succeeds and the one who fails. They're not talking about luck. They're not talking about education. They're not talking about who you're married to, how much money you have, what your past history is, who you work for, what the economy is, who's president, what time of year it is, the social situation. None of that. None of that. How many people do you have on your list, right? How many people are on your social media account? It's all about that attitude, that desire. Everything that we become aware of internally brings with it the way to manifest it externally, the way to create a new situation, a way to manifest all of the resources that are required to go from A to B to C to D. Some persons, however, live in the conviction that that as they are, so they must remain. They believe that God has cast them into a fixed mold, and that the little ability or the power which they possess is all they can hope for or wish for in this life. Scientific research into the mysteries of the human mind reveals a wonderful world of power and possibility. The psychological truth is that what is possible to one mind is possible to another, and vastly more than we have ever dreamed. The same human faculties and cultivated powers of the great and the successful are all possible in all minds. The only real difference is in the degree of the development, not the kind. The degree of the development. Everything is about your commitment to the consistent development. And as you're seeing, it doesn't take, number one, it doesn't take a long time, but a little bit of consistent effort every day, a little bit of tuning our mind in the direction of what we're going, consistently making ourselves aware of who we are, what our possibility is. Every morning makes an enormous difference. An enormous difference. Remember that everything that we've been doing, the changes that are taking place in your awareness, they can't be reversed. You can't reverse awareness. You can't unknow what you've become aware of. You can deny it. You cannot take action on it. But you can't become unaware. Now, this does create a huge separation between you and the other people in your life as it pertains to the difference in awareness. But remember this, as that difference becomes more, as you become more aware of that difference, it also gives you the power and the calmness to just sit in it without being ruffled by it, without being disturbed to a degree where you feel like you have to react in some way. It's a wild thing to be able to get to the place where you have this awareness where other people are panicking and making themselves crazy and bringing all kinds of drama into their life. And you just sit there very calm with this inner knowing that you're controlling everything. And there's no way you can ever explain that to somebody, because it is an experience. It has to be experienced at a core level, both internally and externally in our life. He says, begin now to take the superior view of yourself, your life and circumstances, and of the things and the persons in general. As you mentally perceive the better and greater, you will consciously and unconsciously reach out for the better and the greater. In other words, your thoughts, desires, words, and mental actions will gradually become filled with the spirit of progress, and your faculties will grow stronger and your powers will increase. Catch the spirit of the words "I can," and you have the key to the successful attitude. Know that you can succeed and proceed to think, live, and act in the strong conviction. You may search everywhere, anywhere to discover the mystic secret of success, only to find that in the end, it is all contained in these two little words: I can. Never apologize for what you desire. It belongs to you.
Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind podcast. And if you like what you heard and you want to know more, go to davidnagel.com/free stuff.